Beth Taubes is an RN with certifications in oncology and breast care, with over 30 years of experience in oncology nursing. She has provided patients with hands-on medical treatment and has served in administrative and managerial positions in her field. During these years, much of her effort was geared towards patient education. Her gift for explaining the complexities of both the illness and the treatment process in a manner that is clear and comprehensible, but at the same time reassuring, warm, and encouraging, has earned her accolades from doctors, nurses, and patients alike. She has acquired a well-deserved reputation as an outstanding clinician. Recently, Beth became a certified health coach and has decided to share her expertise with a broader audience that is not limited to cancer patients. She created Wellness Wisdom in order to assist people from all walks of life who would like to live healthier, more wholesome lives by being in full control of their diets, by maximizing the benefits of a realistic exercise program, and by learning how to re-energize via a good night's sleep. Beth offers her clients ongoing personal guidance and devoted support as she helps them in their quest to eat well, move well, sleep well, and be well. You can learn more about Beth and what she does at wellnessmotivationsbt.com. Beth, thank you so much for being here. It's all yours.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for that lovely introduction, and hello and welcome to everyone. It is always a thrill for me to be able to speak for Share, as I've had the privilege of doing that a number of times in my career. And I'm also very excited about this particular topic, lifestyle changes to deal with the stress of cancer, because during my career as an oncology nurse and an administrator, most of my efforts were put into either clinical research and chemotherapy administration. And a number of years ago, when some of the data was really very compelling about lifestyle changes could make a difference in outcomes for people with cancer, both as cancer prevention and also recurrence. But let me shift gears a little bit, which is what brought me on this journey to become a health coach, a certified health coach, to see if there was, in addition to medical treatment, is there something else that can be done that can help people while undergoing cancer therapies and after therapy. So we talk about psychological stress. So what does that mean? So we're looking at a description of, how does it affect people? It affects people both mentally, physically, and emotionally. Now, of course, some stress is completely normal. If we didn't have any stress at all, we wouldn't get up in the morning. We would stay in bed, drink coffee, read the newspaper. Stress, your alarm clock goes off. You need to get up. You need to get ready. Deciding to give this talk and then preparing my slides. I had to get it done and I had to have them in. That was stress. That's why I was able to have the slides ready and send them in. But it was stressful. That's normal. What happens when people have extended periods of stress? Having cancer is extremely stressful, and you, the audience, know this better than I. When you get this diagnosis, many things come into play, both emotionally and physically. And we know that extended periods of stress on a person can significantly reduce their quality of life. And when people have extreme stress over longer periods of time, that's actually been related to some poor clinical outcomes. The reason for that is very unclear, but when we look at that, we do see that some people who undergo extreme stress do have some poorer clinical outcomes. So relieving stress or reducing stress, if in some way we can reduce our stress, we increase quality of life, and perhaps we change the outcomes of this disease. So what happens to our bodies when we have stress? It's not just an emotional response. Any of us that have ever had stress know that this is also there's a physical component to being stressed. What happens is epinephrine and norepinephrine are released. That's our fight and flight mechanism. And sometimes it can be without reason, and sometimes it's for real reason. And every one of us can think of a circumstance when that happened. Yesterday, my daughter is actually in London with her husband, and they decided they've had a very stressful, actually, summer, and this is their little getaway before stress comes back. And she decided she's feeling so stress-free. She's only going to carry her cell phone. Her husband's going to carry all of their money, their ID, and she is just going to follow him. She's going to go stress-free. And they went down to the tube, and they're getting on the tube, and he gets on the tube, and then the door closes before she can get on. So she's in a country she doesn't know, and she has no money and no ID. So just imagine yourself in that situation. A normal response to that is your blood pressure goes up, and everyone listening to this webinar has had this experience. Your heart starts to beat very quickly. I've had that feeling. You almost feel it pounding in your chest. One thing that you may not be aware of, and this is new information, that actually during that time that your blood sugar goes up. And we don't usually typically draw blood sugar, so we don't know that, but actually that has been studied, and your blood sugar goes up. So what happens when people live under chronic stress, which is not uncommon for people who are going through therapy or have finished therapy? Very often people have digestive problems. Very often that's just, well, that must be from therapy, but sometimes that's from ongoing stress where people either have constipation, but more frequently diarrhea, reflux, and heartburn, fertility problems, urinary problems, a weakened immune system. The immune system is actually weakened when we are under chronic stress. Viral infections, bronchitis, the flu, constant colds. People have a lot of trouble sleeping. Again, what is that from? Is that from illness, or is that from ongoing stress? And of course, depression and anxiety. And depression and anxiety may be from not sleeping well, or from being chronically not feeling well. So this is also something of a cycle. Cancer in particular has some physical, emotional, and social effects. One of those effects, I'm actually just thinking about one of a woman that I had taken care of, a young woman in her 20s. And once she was diagnosed and was receiving therapy, that was what her energy, it filled up all of her time and all of her energy. And she was young and single and living in New York. In the evening, her friends were going out to the bar, going out to eat, they were going dancing, and she had to be in bed by 9 o'clock. So the social effects of the day, she felt very, very isolated from all of her friends, in addition to feeling physically worn out and just tired. Sometimes when a response to stress may be, for some, not for all, but for some people, they may smoke. I've had a number of patients over the years that smoked marijuana to deal with stress, consuming large amounts of alcohol. A big go-to for people is consuming foods that are high in fat and sugar and also are very low in nutrition. That's a big go-to, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And also to have a sedentary lifestyle because you don't feel energized to go do anything. So it seems perfect. I'll just sit on the couch and binge on Netflix all evening. And the outcome of that is that you feel you have a poor quality of life even once therapy has been completed. And some of the studies have shown that stress can actually affect tumor growth, that there was actually an increase in tumor growth during very stressful situations. So again, another really good motivator to see what can we do to reduce stress during this time. Food, glorious food, what to eat. This is one of my favorite topics. I love food. I'm a big foodie. And I basically, if you look at this picture, I love everything on it. I like the good food and I like the junk food. And people are always coming to talk to me about what to eat. So that's going to be the next part of our discussion. So can food affect our mood and our anxiety? Well, one thing, let's see how we cope. How do we cope with anxiety? And every person is different. So some of these may speak to you, some of them may not. But again, I find very often for many people, sugary foods are often a go-to in the times of stress. So I know for myself that sometimes when I'm feeling a little down or a little anxious, if I have some ice cream, I just feel better. And so very often that would be my thing to go to. You know what? If I'm feeling really down in the dumps, nothing like, some caramel fudge ice cream will really do it. Or now they have salted caramel ice cream. those things sometimes will speak to me. You may have the thing that is your go-to in times of stress. Some people like salty and crunchy. Diet changes can't cure your anxiety, but watching what you eat and what you consume really help decrease anxiety. Some foods make us feel calm, and others actually act as stimulants. Dietary changes may help alleviate some of your stress symptoms. So what foods should we avoid? And again, these may be for some and not for others. So again, sugar. I love to talk about sugar because we love sugar. There are a few people that don't like sugar. I always know when you have someone, you may have a friend, said, oh, I couldn't eat that. It was too sweet. I never quite understood those people. So I am, like I said, a junk food junkie. I love a good cheesecake. I like ice cream. I like chocolate. It is delicious. It's a yum. And it makes us feel better very temporarily. The reason for that, there's a physiological reason that sugar makes you feel better. Sugar is one of those things that's quickly absorbed into your bloodstream. So just do this mental image of literally pouring sugar directly into your bloodstream. There's no barrier. You get an immediate surge of energy, and you feel better. But our body responds to that. The body is a miraculous machine, and we get an increase in our insulin production. Very often, that insulin production, we actually produce too much insulin. Then our sugar drops. So two things happen. One thing, we feel sluggish and tired and actually kind of very low. And then we feel, I need to eat more sugar. And if you think about your own experience with this, sometimes very often when I meet with people, one of the questions I always ask all of my clients is, after lunch, do you ever feel like taking a nap in the afternoon at work? And if the answer to that question is yes, then you are probably experiencing this, where you feel a little bit better, and then you feel very tired, like you want to take a nap. So that sort of means that there's some kind of sugar imbalance in your system, and probably we should figure out what to do about that and how to eliminate some sugar from your diet. One of the things to start with is become an educated consumer. Know what you're eating. One thing I always explain to my clients is we are marketed to in this country, and probably in other countries as well. So if you ever look at a food label, you look at outside, look at what the packaging tells you. So it happens to be this week, my grandson, my 2.5-year-old grandson is staying with me. My kids are taking my other children are taking a vacation. So my husband bought him a snack. He bought him veggie straws. Now, I understood why he bought that. Veggie straws, that sounds like it's vegetables in a bag. It sounds fantastic. But when you turn over the bag of veggie straws and you look at the nutritional content, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, except for fat. And the reason for that is it's not really made of vegetables. It has like a little powder of vegetables in the veggie straws. It's mainly potato powder, so there's a little less fat than typical potato chips, but nutritionally, it's no different than eating potato chips. But the name veggie straw makes us think this is a health food. The same thing when you look at packaging. One of the things I love to look at is popcorn. Gluten-free popcorn. Vegetarian. Of course, gluten-free popcorn. Corn is not is vegetarian, is not made from a meat process, and it's not from gluten. It's from corn. So of course it's going to be gluten-free. So there's nothing special about it. But now when you look at that package in the store, you may be drawn to it thinking, a gluten-free food. Yes, because all popcorn is gluten-free. Very important to look at your serving size. So you turn over the package. What does that label tell you? So recently I had a friend of mine who was talking to me. Also, she's been feeling kind of sluggish, so we're going through her diet. And she showed me these muffins that she eats for breakfast. So one of the things I pointed out to her is that there were no nutrients in it whatsoever. But interestingly, when we looked at the serving size, there were 6 little muffins in the container. But outside the container, when it said serving size, it said 8. So even though there are only 6 muffins, the nutritional the calories, the fat, all of those other things were based on a serving size of 8. So that would mean if you were having a serving, you'd have like 3/4 of one muffin, which no consumer, when you pick one of those muffins, you're thinking that that is a serving size. So look at that. What is a serving size of this container? How many calories are in that serving size? Are you having that serving size? Or are you having 3 times that serving size? Because then multiply everything by 3. Important things to look at. Serving size, your calories. Look at how much fat is in that serving. How many carbohydrates? What's the fiber? If you want to take a look at your carbohydrates, your real carbohydrates, you're going to take your total carbohydrates and you're going to minus your fiber, and that's going to give you your real carbohydrate total. Look at how much sugar is in that package and how much protein. So those are the things your eye should immediately be drawn to. And interestingly, we do know this based on studies, and you may know this just from your own personal experience. Where I used to work on 37th Street, there was a Baskin & Robbins near there and a Dunkin' Donuts, and I very often used to go there for an iced coffee, and occasionally, like I said, I do love ice cream, although I cut it out most of the time these days. But I used to sometimes get an ice cream there. But a number of years ago, there was a requirement in New York City that stores have to post calories and fat. And when I saw what I had typically been ordering was 1,100 calories and had 80 grams of fat. After that, I never ordered that again. So sometimes this may stop you from eating something that's really not good for you, or not. Or you make a decision as an adult person, you know what, I'm going to eat this anyway. So anyway, this is very important information, and that's why I've spent so much time on this slide. It's important for everyone to become an educated consumer. Each one of us are different. We're not all exactly the same. Some people have some food sensitivities that doesn't mean breaking out in hives or feeling itchy, but you may notice some from either some food additives or even food colorings. You may notice that you have a physical reaction. You may notice that you have a shift in your mood or irritability or anxiety. So sometimes if you notice that you're getting that often, take a look. Take a look at what it is you're consuming. There may be something in your diet that's actually causing that. And you can do a little experiment. Either don't eat it, then try it and see if you have that reaction. And then you know to eliminate that from your diet. So these are some things that all of us have. One thing is coffee. So I'm a coffee drinker. I do have a cup of coffee in the morning. So I like my cup of coffee in the morning. It boosts my energy. I look forward to it. But the one thing is saying one must know oneself. How do you feel when you have coffee? And how it happens if you have a second or third cup of coffee. For some people, it does not affect them at all. But for others, it does. One of the reasons is because it inhibits serotonin levels. And suppressed serotonin levels causes depression. And more than that, it causes irritability. So many of you may feel, or you know somebody that this has happened to, that they feel irritable when they have too much coffee. It also acts as a diuretic. And when one is dehydrated, that can also lead to depression. Alcohol is something that we drink socially, but some people drink it to decrease stress and anxiety. Very often people may feel a good mood temporarily, but actually alcohol is a depressive. So very often people will be in a good mood right after they drink, but if you drink too much afterwards, you feel down. And we know this about people who really have a problem with alcohol, that they're very often angry and depressed personalities, and can also cause dehydration, which we mentioned earlier, can cause depression. Eating clean foods. So what does that mean? So clean foods are, if we can manage to eat clean, the first things we would do would be to eliminate white sugar, white flour, processed foods, things that have chemicals in them, artificial flavors, artificial ingredients. And studies have shown that actually the people that reduce these things from their diet actually feel better, feel sharper, have less depression than people that have a lot of these additives. Now that doesn't mean everybody, but there are those people that are very sensitive to these ingredients, and one must know oneself again. So sometimes you may wonder, why am I feeling down? Why am I feeling anxious? Sometimes food may be the culprit, or it may not be the culprit, but maybe adding to the effects of what's already going on in your life. So sometimes eliminating these foods will actually make you not only feel better, but many of my clients have told me that they are thinking clearer. That has had a tremendous effect on their overall system. So then some of you may be wondering, so what's left for me to eat? You've basically just eliminated all the things in my diet that I usually like to eat. So what is it that's safe to eat? Well, one of the things that we've looked at is that there is what seems to be a relationship between the B vitamins and mood. Thiamine, or vitamin B1, can actually help with mood, and deficiency in these vitamins or deficiency in folic acid and B12 can trigger depression in some people. In some people, vitamin B may actually help ward off anxiety. They actually have less anxiety either by taking a B supplement or by eating a better way to get, basically almost all the time, the best way to get your supplements is through food, not through a pill. So if you can, eat a healthy diet if you're up for that. So those things that have vitamin B are many of the foods that hopefully many of you enjoy anyway: beef, chicken, leafy green vegetables, legumes, oranges, and any other citrus fruits, rice, nuts, and eggs. All are high in the B vitamins. So add that to your diet if you don't already, or if you're not already doing that, and it might actually increase your mood, make you feel better. How about complex carbohydrates? Well, complex carbohydrates increase productions of serotonin levels. As we mentioned earlier, those are calming neurotransmitters in the brain. They're actually your feel-good neurotransmitters. They actually make you feel better. So it's always better to stick with whole grains or multigrain bread or multigrains instead of processed. And once again, the reason for that is it takes longer for them to be broken down. And everything, all carbohydrates, and that means all fruit being in that category as well. Most foods will break down to sugar. The question is, how quickly does it enter your bloodstream? That's where there's a difference. So white carbohydrates and processed carbohydrates break down quickly, and they release sugar into the bloodstream very, very quickly. So you get exactly what we talked about before. You get that insulin, you get an increase in sugar. Then your body responds by a mass production of insulin. Then your blood sugars drop and you feel lethargy and tired. While complex carbohydrates are slow, take a long time to break down, and they release sugar slowly into the bloodstream. So you don't have that high and you don't have that low, and your sugar levels stay steady. Other things, fatty fish. So consuming omega-3 fatty acids, such as that's usually found in a lot of fatty fishes like tuna and salmon and herring, have found that they can actually enhance your mood. And there's been some studies that say, once again, that may actually be very good for your brain. Proteins also help produce and stimulate the chemical norepinephrine and dopamine. Again, these things are neurotransmitters that are actually good for the brain and good for the body, and higher levels of these transmitters are shown to improve alertness, mental alertness, make you feel really good. So good sources of those proteins include Greek yogurt. Now, it's amazing how the market has changed. We now have lots and lots of Greek yogurt. It's one of my favorite foods, but I want to just send a warning out to those of you who are eating Greek yogurt. I want you to become, once again, educated consumers. Take a look. What is in that Greek yogurt? Turn it over. Some of the Greek yogurts, the best Greek yogurt to have is plain. Not everybody likes plain. My favorite way to eat plain yogurt, if it can be a little tart. Take some fresh blueberries or strawberries and maybe a little bit of honey, and maybe put a little bit of vanilla and cinnamon and mix that together. That's the best way to have a Greek yogurt. Some of the Greek yogurts, again, we're marketed to, have a lot of sugar and a lot of and they're very small and they're very high in sugar and a lot of added sugar. There's one yogurt that I've seen on the market where there are actually little pieces of candy on top of the yogurt. Okay, that is not a health food. that is a dessert. So again, become educated, and yogurt is a great place to really, when you go to the store, next time you're in the supermarket, there are lots of yogurts. Start reading them. Bring your reading glasses if you need them, because it's in very small print, but start turning over and looking at that Greek yogurt. But it is a great source of protein. Very often Greek yogurt can have 15 or 17 grams of protein. Fish, all the fish are great. Meat, cheeses, eggs, nuts, and soy, beans and lentils, all are good sources of protein and should be part of your daily diet. This is one of my favorite topics about stay hydrated. Drink plenty of water. I never go anywhere without a water bottle. So if you see me anywhere, my water bottle is with me. I always measure how much water I'm taking, so I know how much I've had during the day. And interestingly, most of us walk around very dehydrated. If you're not consciously drinking water all day, chances are you are dehydrated. When I meet with people for the first time, I can't tell you how many of my clients will tell me that they maybe have 1 or 2 glasses of fluid a day and maybe a cup of coffee. So if you're walking around that way, your body is very forgiving. You feel okay, but actually you're dehydrated. It can very much affect your mood. It can also cause fatigue, make you confused, angry, and depressed, and even a little tense. So one of the easiest fixes that you can do to help make yourself feel better emotionally and physically is to increase your intake of water. Now, the recommendation, the general recommendation is to drink half of your body weight in water. For some people, they'll find that completely overwhelming, especially if you have not been someone who's been drinking water till now. So start the process slowly. But staying hydrated is one of the best things you can do for your body. So I love I saw this little thing, thank sleep. I thought, yes, we really should thank sleep. If you've ever had a good night's sleep and you woke up feeling rested, you have to really thank sleep because of what it does for you. So to sleep, for a chance to dream. And for some people, the idea of sleeping, they never sleep through the night. Falling asleep has become something that causes anxiety because sleep is so poor. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And stress and lack of sleep is a vicious cycle. When one feels very stressed, what happens, you get into bed, you turn off the lights, and your brain goes on. And you're thinking of all the things that are going on. And it's what we call a chatty brain. Your brain is chatting to you about all the things that are concerning you, and you can't fall asleep. Well, once you can't sleep and you haven't been sleeping, well, now you're very tired. So when you're not sleeping well, you become stressed. So it is a vicious, vicious cycle. The other thing is sometimes when you get up during the night, there are 2 types of lack of sleep. One is you can't fall asleep. The other type of insomnia is when you fall asleep, but then you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't fall back to sleep. And now your brain, you're stressed about the fact that you're not sleeping, and you start looking at your clock, and you have to be up in 3 hours, and you're thinking, okay, I have 2 hours and 59 minutes. Oh, look, I'm still up. I have 2 hours and 30 minutes. I only have 2 hours till my alarm clock goes off. And so that cycle also keeps you up. So what is it we can do to try to break that cycle? And I would love to tell you that I have an easy answer to this, because sleep is actually one of the #1 complaints I have from my clients, and I have that from my patients, that sleep is very often interrupted when someone is undergoing therapy. Sleep is disturbed from women during menopause. Many people can't sleep for a variety of reasons. So some techniques to help people fall back asleep. One thing that has been looked at is mindful meditation. Now, for those of you who've never tried meditation, and there are definitely those of you that may even roll your eyes about this, when they think about meditation, they're thinking, that is not something I would ever think about. But I recommend it very strongly for you to try meditation if you never have. It has been proven in many studies that meditation actually helps people fall asleep, and it actually also helps you stay asleep, and if you wake up during the night, to help you go back to sleep. There was a study done where they took half the participants and they taught them the techniques of mindful meditation, and the other half of the group, they gave them sleep education classes. When they did the study, everyone met once a week for 2 hours. Each group met for 6 times. And the outcomes of the group, or the mindful group, had less insomnia, fatigue, and depression at the end of the six sessions compared to the group that was taught about sleep habits. So mindful meditation involves focusing on your breathing and then bringing your mind's attention to the present without drifting into concerns about other things going on in your life. If you're interested in finding out more about mindful meditation, there are quite a few videos on YouTube that you can look that up. There's actually some courses given in a number of places. It's called Mindful-Based Stress Reduction, and you can look that up, and I highly recommend it. I'm going to just show you a little bit about how you can create this for yourself. The first step is to choose a calming focus. So one thing that I usually like to tell people that and any time you take a stress reduction course or if you do meditation is to focus on breathing. One of the reasons that's easy to focus on breathing, it's always with you. So when you're lying in bed and you can't fall asleep, you know your breath is with you. So if you can bring your mind, if your mind is chatting with you about all the different things that you need to do today, tomorrow, what's going on at work, what's going on with your illness, what did your oncologist say, what did my spouse say, what are my kids saying, my parent, what's my boss going to think, how am I feeling, oh my goodness, that if you can get your brain to quiet down by telling your brain, bring your brain's focus on your breath. And even if we do this now, those of you that are on the line, if you want to do that with me, for just a moment. I'm actually going to be quiet, which is going to be a little odd on this webinar. I'm still here with you, but we're going to do this for just a moment. Just listen to my voice, and then I'm going to be quiet. I want you to imagine, just think about what your breath feels like coming up through your nose and how your chest expands and your belly goes out. And then as the breath leaves your body, how your belly comes in, your chest and shoulders come down as you empty your lungs. Now you try it. How did it go? You have to let go and relax. Don't worry about how you're doing. It is normal for your mind to wander and start thinking about some of the other things that you need to do. Just gently bring it back to your focus, to your breathing. I found this to be a very effective tool in helping people fall asleep and stay asleep. This takes practice. So if you can just put aside, start with doing this for 2 minutes, increase it to 5. You'll get, like anything else, you get better at this, at the mindful meditation. Then there's some just practical things. 10 tips to better sleep. So these are not mine. They're out there. But I'm just going to review them with you. This one thing is to go to bed and get up at the same time every day. So if your body is set in a pattern of going to bed and wake up. The truth is that we do this with children. Children have a bedtime and a wake-up time. And most children have no trouble going to sleep, and they definitely don't have any trouble waking up in the morning. At some point in our lives, our routines and our life gets in the way of this basic need of going to bed and getting up at the same time. But if you're having trouble sleeping, try that. Try not to eat or drink large amounts before bedtime. Your body is in shutdown mode. Your metabolism starts shutting down so that you can sleep at night. It's not supposed to be active. So if you eat or drink too much, you've also stimulated your digestive system. Also, if you drink too much, you're going to have to get up to go to the bathroom during the night. If that does happen, that you have to get up to go to the bathroom during the night, try not to leave a bright light on. If you can leave a little night light on so you don't fall and hurt yourself, and almost keep your eyes closed. Don't wake yourself up if you have to go to the bathroom. Nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol are all stimulants. Please try to stay away from them in the evening. If you exercise regularly, although not prior to bedtime, but earlier in the day, actually helps you sleep. Make your bedroom a fantastic place. Buy yourself gorgeous sheets, blankets, Make your bedroom a place that's so comfortable. Keep it cool. Buy blackout shades. Keep it dark. Sleep primarily at night. Now, sometimes this is very tough when one is undergoing therapy because you feel very tired during the day. A nap during the day can absolutely destroy nighttime sleep. So primarily sleep at night. Take a power nap during the day, but no more than 45 minutes to an hour. Daytime sleep for adults will definitely interrupt nighttime sleeping. Try to get out during the day into the sunshine. The sunshine and the sunlight during the day will actually help you sleep better at night. When I mentioned before, make sure your mattress, if you haven't changed your mattress in 20 years, it's time to invest in a new mattress. And pillows, make sure your pillow is the right thing, that it's right for your neck and head. And the same thing, you haven't got a new pillow in a long time, it's time to replace it. Maybe start a relaxing bedtime routine. Again, let's go back to that childhood. With children, very often we give them a bath before bedtime to relax them. Actually, it's a great idea. If you like a bath should take, maybe you drink, maybe you have a calming tea, then you take your bath, you get into comfy pajamas, you take out your favorite book, and you climb into bed. See what works for you, but to almost have a ritual around bedtime. And go to bed when you're tired and turn out the lights. Try not to bring electronics with you into bed, your cell phone, your computer. All of those things stimulate your brain. We want your brain to be quiet so that you could fall asleep and stay asleep. Moving, one of my other favorite things to talk about. Moving can actually act, and exercise can act as a stress reliever. So, many people talk to me, they're too busy, they don't have time to exercise. And the good news about that is no matter what you're doing, as long as you are moving, you are going to feel better, and it's actually going to act as a stress reducer. Why does it work? Because exercise pumps up our endorphins. And so physical activity helps bump up those production of those feel-good neurotransmitters. And any of you that have been out there and actually walked or ran or did anything you liked and sweated a little bit, it makes you feel good. It also sometimes can get you into a meditative state. It's like your body's in motion. There's a rhythm to your body. You're thinking about how your body's moving, and sometimes you can get your brain to concentrate on that and not on the other things that are stressing you. Your energy and optimism can sometimes carry you at least for a few hours when you're done. It can improve your mood and your self-confidence, and also it'll relax you. And sometimes when one is undergoing therapy or even afterwards, you feel like you've had no control over what's happened to you. You go to the doctor, they tell you take this pill, they send you for that scan, you've had surgery and you've undergone that, they put an IV in, people are doing things to you that then your body responds to those things. Your body feels out of your control. When you exercise, you can sometimes take that and feel like you're back in control of your own system and your own body. Before you do an exercise program, you should consult with your doctor to make sure that you're up for it. And one of the things I tell everyone, you do not need to join a gym. If you like going to the gym, fantastic. But I find for many people that the gym is a reason not to exercise. I did get to the gym, I guess I can't exercise. So if you like the gym, go, but it's not a reason not to exercise. Pick something that you love. If it's walking outdoors, it might be dancing, it might be swimming, it might be someone you like to lift weights, someone loves Pilates, some people like bar exercise, biking, hiking, whatever the thing that's Zumba, whatever the thing is that speaks to you, there are lots of different ways to move your body. There's not one best. The best exercise is the one you do, the one that feels right for you. Pick one that feels right for you. Put it on your schedule. Otherwise, it will never happen. For some people, that will be first thing in the morning. They get out of bed, they put on a pair of sneakers, and they exercise in their living room or their bedroom or their basement, and it's 10 minutes, it's 15 minutes, as much time as you have. That's when they do it. Other people, that will never work. They never have enough time then. That the end of the day is a better time. But it has to be on your schedule. If you wait for it to fit in, it'll never happen. And you should also know yourself. Are you someone who like, you know what, I love going out for a walk by myself? Then that's the best thing for you. Other people are more social beings. They want to be with someone. If you need someone to help you with this, ask a friend. You want to walk with me every day? I know it's good for me, but I know I'm not going to do it by myself. So pick a friend, someone who's going to do it with you, and make sure to stick with it, because the results of exercise are so worth it. So if you can stick with it, you'll feel better. Even if at the beginning it's difficult, if you stick with it, you're going to enjoy it more and more. So I'm sure that nothing I've has really been a surprise. Nothing I've said is shocking. I've come up with some amazing thing that you've never heard of. We know about many of these habits of health that are really good for us. So what gets in the way? What gets in the way? Think for yourself, what is getting in your way of changing a habit that we know is bad for us, makes us feel crummy, makes us anxious, makes us depressed, makes our body feel sluggish. And we know that, intellectually we know that. So what is it that is the barrier that's preventing us from getting to where we need to go? For many people, it's time. Where am I going to fit this in? Some people, it's cost. It's too expensive. I don't want to do that. It's much cheaper for me to go to McDonald's, or, it's too expensive to buy myself a new pair of sneakers. They feel unsupported either by their family members or even just personally unsupported. They don't really want to. Sometimes I just don't feel like it. Or you feel so overwhelmed managing everything else in your life, including your medical care. You feel like, I can't manage to also do this. And of course, there's also always the fear of failure. Am I going to be able to do this? I know, I've tried this so many times before, and I always start like a house on fire, and then I never am able to reach my goal. And we have a lot of negative self-talk. I always talk about the children's story that we used to read that was, about the little engine that could. And I think, when we're children, there's a lot of, little kids always think about, I can do that cartwheel. I can swim. I can jump. I can zip line. I can do a cartwheel. They're full of I can. In some point in our life, something happens and we become, I can't. I can't exercise. I can't cook that way. I can't eat healthy. I hate drinking water. I can't do it. So think about, what's your barrier? What's your barrier? And once you acknowledge that barrier, that's the first step. Acknowledge the barrier and think, then we have to come up with tools. What are those tools to overcome those barriers? So we're just going to pick one, that fear of failure. So maybe our goal is too big. We've picked something that is unrealistic. So we have to pick something small that we know will be successful. So success breeds success. And again, I work with people, and I work with many women who had undergone breast cancer therapy about changing lifestyle habits. And I know how difficult this is. It is extremely difficult to change a habit and change it from a bad habit to a good one. So we have to look at, how can I get started? What's our motivator? So if you look at this cartoon that I presented, so here the father is telling him, when you're big enough to climb that 8-foot wall, you're big enough to decide your own bedtime. Great motivator for that little child who managed to get up on that 8-foot wall, and the man says, dang, kids like monkey, the wife is going to kill me. Okay, so find your motivator. What's your reasoning? What's your reason? For some people, the reason may be they just will feel better. For others, they know some of the research on preventing, it decreases, there's been some data that shows a decrease in recurrence of breast cancer and other cancers. So maybe beyond how I'm feeling, maybe my overall health, maybe concerns about diabetes. Maybe I want to be an example for someone else in my family who is not eating well. I'm worried about them. So for some people, it's more of a motivator to think about them than it is to think about themselves. What's your motivator? What's going to speak to you? And remember, it's yours personally. Don't look at what's happening or what speaks to somebody else. It has to be about you. Find your why. Why do I want to make this change? And write it down. And if this sounds hokey to you, I'm sorry, it might. But I'm telling you, it is so worth it. Read your motivator to yourself out loud every single day. Why do I want to make this change? If I make this change, is it the stress piece of it? Is that what's speaking to you? I know that there's another way, or a way that will help supplement what I'm already doing. If I'm going for help and I'm seeking out therapy, if I'm taking medication, if there are other things that will, besides that I can do that can help me decrease my stress. What's your motivator? And remember, it's yours alone. Don't become overwhelmed. This can be an overwhelming journey. Make one choice at a time. One of the things I love to tell people is, because I love to shop, a great way to get started on it, if you want to increase exercise, is look like someone who exercises. And go out and buy yourself a great pair of sneakers. It's a worthwhile investment, because one of the things you do not want to do is hurt yourself while exercising. So go buy yourself a great pair of sneakers, and while you're in there, go pick up a cute shirt, like one of those wick-away shirts, so that you look like someone who's an exerciser. You've got the look now. It's actually something of a motivator. Start there. Maybe pick up a new water bottle, one of those that have an infuser so you could put some fruit in it so you can make your water a little bit more interesting. Maybe you're going to increase your fluids by 8 ounces a day. Or you start reading nutritional labels so you become, hey, you know what? I didn't realize this. What I love is those aha moments when people start reading nutrition labels. Start a food journal so you get a better sense. Oh, I didn't really think I ate that much today. Sometimes you start writing down, oh, what is it that I ate today? I didn't eat one bit of protein, or I had no vegetables in my diet, or I didn't eat any nuts today, or all I ate was junk food. You start keeping a food journal. And also, if you start feeling a little anxious or you feel tired, look at what I ate today. Maybe there's a correlation. Call a friend, ask them to go for a walk with you. For those of you who've never taken yoga classes, and maybe some of that will speak to you, and maybe those of you who've never tried yoga, there are a number of yoga classes now available free of charge for people undergoing cancer or cancer survivorship programs that offer free yoga. Where I am I'm located in New Jersey in a place called Stone Yoga. We offer a program 2 days a week for people who have or either undergoing therapy or at any time in their life have cancer, or family members. Twice a week we offer free yoga classes. Many of the hospitals and cancer centers now offer free yoga. It's a gentle yoga. You've never taken yoga and you want to try it? Not a bad idea. I highly recommend it. People have found it extremely helpful to reducing stress. Practice mindfulness. That little technique I showed you, and again, like I said to you, there are many programs on YouTube that you can look for, or take a class. There are classes throughout the city and all over the United States that are teaching mindfulness. So if you want to work with other people and learn the techniques, try that. Take a deep breath. Breathe all the way in and exhale. Allow all the air out of your lungs, and then do it again. Take a bath. Try to go to bed 30 minutes earlier. Pick one of these things. Pick more than one if it speaks to you, but try something small. See what it feels like to you. See if it speaks to you. See if it makes you feel better. This is your journey on what's going to help you decrease your stress. And the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, building the new. What is it in your life that you can change that would make you feel better? Who is with you on this journey that can help support you? Look for those people. They're out there. Thank you very much, and I now am open to any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Beth. That was a great presentation. Thank you so much. So I've got a couple of questions here.
Okay.
Can you talk to us a little bit about sugar? On the labels that you showed us, they always talk about sugar in terms of grams, but no one really knows what that means, right? We put a teaspoon of sugar in our coffee, not a gram of sugar.
Right.
So how much sugar should we be having?
Right. That's a great question. That is a great question. So one thing to realize, okay, so this is important information whenever you're looking at sugar. Like I mentioned to you before, all foods break down to sugar except pure proteins. So fish, chicken, meat, they do not break down to sugar, but almost everything else does. So if, like that plain yogurt we were talking about, that has no added sugar, but when you turn it over, there's sugar in that because it breaks down to sugar. That's natural sugar. That has a different effect on the body versus added sugar. So when you're making decisions about what to eat, I don't want to give you a gram amount because in all milk, like I said, all milk products break down to sugar. That's not the same as having something with added sugar. So when you look at ingredients and you see that there's added sugar, and where is that sugar on that label? Is it early on in the ingredients? Just in a quick review, when it says ingredients, the first words after ingredients, it's done by percentage. The higher the percentage of that particular ingredient, the closer it is to the word ingredient. So if sugar is showing up in the early part, chances are avoid it, okay? But things that have added sugar, a good rule of thumb is try to keep your sugar in any one product. If you're really keeping a low sugar diet, is to try not to have more than 5 to 7 grams of sugar in any serving size. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it does. Thanks. So, and then a similar question about fiber. So a few people are concerned about not being sure about how much fiber to get every day.
Okay, so the same thing with fiber. You know, I always like, you know, general recommendations for everybody are difficult because everybody is different about how much or how it affects you. So the reason we need fiber in our diet is for a number of reasons. One of the main purposes, it really helps us for many people, it helps them go to the bathroom. So you'll have better bowel movements, which are an important part of being a healthy person. So that's why it's very important to have it in your diet. That being said, that some people, for some people, too much fiber actually causes them discomfort. So you have to keep an eye on that. So the recommendations for most adults is to have about 14 grams of fiber for about every 1,000 calories consumed. So the average person who's not overeating, you know, I mean, like that's the people on a perfect, like a fairly healthy, balanced diet, not overeating, have about 2,000 calories in their diet. That's like if someone's on a weight loss program. The average, let's say female, I would say about 2,000 calories a day. So they should have about 28 grams of fiber in their daily diet.
Great.
Did that answer that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And
but I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I want to add one point. But watch how it affects you. Okay. Like again, if you're increasing fiber in your diet, which is fantastic, sometimes you've got to go a little slow. If you're eating something, all of a sudden you're adding a lot of fiber to your diet. You have to drink a lot. So I want to make sure you're drinking a lot of water, because if you all of a sudden added a lot of fiber to your diet and you haven't done that before, it can actually constipate you if you don't have enough water. So make sure you're drinking enough water with it, and also watch the way it's affecting you. Some people have to add fiber slowly to their diet, otherwise they end up with gas and constipation. Okay, so just keep an eye on that, and if you do get that, back off a little bit and just start adding it a little more slowly.
So someone is asking about keeping a food log, and is feeling sort of overwhelmed by the idea of keeping a food log. So, you know, writing everything down.
So
are there any? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to give you another, just something that might work for you. You know, again, one thing great about living in 2016 and the fact we may all, you know, moan and groan our smartphones, and we may feel sometimes like we have another limb that has to come with us everywhere. But I know with my clients, because many people feel, okay, this is like another task and it's causing me stress, which is not its goal. I have them take pictures of what they ate that day. And you may find that that's a way to log what you're doing. Is to just, if you find that writing it down or putting on, there are many like apps that will help log, you know, you can keep logs. But if you don't want to do that, I tell people sometimes, if you just take pictures of everything you're eating, and then just review the picture logs at the end of the day. And you may find that that's an easier way of keeping up with what you're consuming over the course of the day.
That's a great idea. And also you mentioned that there are a bunch of food apps out there that help you track, and you can
So
track
one of
in
them that I
different
really
ways.
like is my Fitness Pal. If those of you have tried that one, that's a good one.
And there are some apps that allow you to like take a picture of a barcode on something that you're eating,
Right.
and a whole bunch of different apps that allow you to
Right.
track your food intake in different ways.
In different ways, correct, right?
So someone is asking about saying that you talk about the pros of vitamin B. What about magnesium if constipated, if you don't feel up to eating a lot?
And to take magnesium for constipation.
Right.
Is that the question?
Yes.
So in general, I will tell you about supplements. I mean, I'm sort of careful about telling people to ever take supplements because you never know if they're contraindicated for the individual. So in general, I don't like to give it broad recommendations about taking a supplement. It's really something you have to really discuss with your physician if it's the right thing for you.
I think that's a very wise statement. And what about probiotics?
Okay. So
Do you consider probiotic a supplement as well?
So probiotics is an interesting we've gotten so much information about what's happened to our poor gut over time, either from the environment or over the course of our lives, that we take antibiotics. And very often people undergoing chemotherapy have had to be on antibiotics for either because they had surgery or they had an infection. So probiotics, we have normal bacteria that live in our body and they live in our gut. And they're supposed to be there. But when we take antibiotics, or sometimes from the foods that we eat that are processed or from other reasons, we kill out that natural flora that lives in our gut. So a probiotic can actually supplement that, and it is actually recommended. It's not, I really don't call it I don't view it as a supplement like a vitamin. A probiotic can actually replace things that we have destroyed through the way that we live, and it has been shown to have many, many health benefits, including dealing with some GI symptoms like diarrhea, constipation. People who have irritable bowel syndrome has been found to help. And in addition to that, there's some literature that says it actually can help the immune system. So if it isn't contraindicated, it sometimes is contraindicated if someone has a low blood count. Sometimes it is contraindicated. So but if you're a healthy person and your blood counts are okay and you're having some GI symptoms, it is worthwhile to try a probiotic and see if it helps you. One of the things, once again, label reading. Some of the probiotics, one in particular that's very popular on the market, is dairy. So if you have any dairy, if you have any problems with dairy, stay away from that particular probiotic. So take a look at that. But otherwise, usually I do recommend it for many of my clients.
Thank you. So I know we're just a minute over, but I have one question from myself.
Sure.
So in our support groups and in our on our helplines, we get lots of calls, lots of people asking about, what can I do to eat better? What can I do to feel better? What can I do to manage stress? And when the group comes back with answers like, well, have you tried to exercise? Have you gone to yoga? Or have you tried meditation? The person becomes what we call like the help-rejecting, help-seeking individual, right? So, I've tried that and it didn't work for me. I can't exercise because I'm too tired or I don't have time. What can we say to those people?
I think, again, we're back to, your motivator. What's your motivator? How, would it be, what can you do? What's worth it to you to do? I often find that people need, they need a coach. They need someone to help them. So sometimes when people have tried many things, they feel sort of like overwhelmed and also a little alone and isolated in their journey, that sometimes seeking out someone to help them get started and to guide them I feel like that really helps them because there are many things out there, but you can fall into that cycle, oh, I can't do that. So sometimes you have to find someone who can help them. It's like they're in that, if you've ever seen that person, they're in the well, they're down in that well, and they can't figure out how to get out of that well. And the only way to get out is if someone climbs in and kind of helps, gives them a hand, and helps them out. So I don't know how Cher can do that, but sometimes when someone's feeling that way, I would say usually they need to get some help to help them climb out of the well. They're finding it too hard to do it by themselves.
Got it. Thank you. So thank you, Beth. Thank you for a great program, and thanks to all of you for participating. Please take a moment to fill out the survey at the end of the webinar. And remember, to learn more about Beth Taubes, go to wellnessmotivationsbt.com. And to find out about Cher's upcoming programs and groups, visit sharecancersupport.org. Thanks so much, Beth. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.